Hello, welcome to my channel. My name is Daily Manhwas, and I hope you enjoy this video. This is the next part of he reincarnated as a zombie. If you already saw the first part, you can skip to this minute. This story begins with three boys escaping from a horde of zombies. While one of the zombies was about to catch one of them, the boy quickly fights back with his knife, wondering why this game felt so real. His companion suggested him that they should keep running instead of fighting, as they cannot defeat a horde of zombies on their own. After running for a while, they reached an abandoned warehouse. They quickly entered inside and blocked the entrance. Finally, they could rest a bit as there were no more zombies in this area according to the game map. However, behind them, there was a body of a zombie, which gradually starts to come back to life as the system loads his data. Upon hearing the body moving, they turn around and saw that the zombie had risen. The only thing they were thinking now was that the game was poorly designed since it had many glitches, and it hasn't been long since the game was launched. This zombie's name was Ling Yan, and he was a player who entered the game world in the form of a zombie. The system had assigned him a main mission, and he couldn't leave the game until he completes the main mission. After seeing him alive, they approached him and started attacking him. The only thing he was wondering now was why they were attacking him when they could resolve things by talking. His mission was to find the truth about the virus outbreak and stop the virus. Seeing the objective assigned by the system, he panics because he doesn't know how long it will take him to find the virus outbreak and stop it. He tries desperately to call customer service to get out of the game, as it was his first time playing this type of games and he was already trapped. One of the boys stops attacking when he sees Ling Yan protecting his head. Seeing that they stopped attacking him, he was relieved that they finally understood that he was different from other zombies. But upon seeing his zombie-like expression, they decided to continue attacking. One of them, thinking that he was an elite monster, started attacking Ling Yan's neck with a knife, hoping to kill him and believing that the system had not detected his presence because he was an elite monster. The three of them kept attacking Ling Yan, hoping to obtain valuable items that elite monsters usually dropped. Although Ling Yan took damage, he felt no pain because zombies had three abilities: a strong bite that allowed them to hunt easily, increased pain resistance, and unpredictable mindset changes due to the virus, making them stronger predators. As they showed no sign of stopping, Ling Yan prepares to defend himself. Realizing that fighting here would attract other zombies, they started running away. Ling Yan tried to talk to them, but they ignored him and left. Suddenly, the system warned him that his hunger rate had reached 50%. If a zombie's hunger rate falls below 25%, they lose consciousness. To recover control of his body, Ling Yan must quickly find prey and raise the hunger rate to 40%. He wonders why he had to become a zombie and experience all this, but he acknowledges that his current strength was 10 points, which was not easy to achieve in this game. Still, he would rather not be a zombie. He felt cheated because he didn't get a chance to choose his character and ended up in a zombie's body. A few days ago, while he was going to buy the game, he saw a long queue. He decided to watch another player play the game to kill the time while he was waiting. Suddenly, a suspicious man with a hood bumped into him. This man was carrying a virtual reality helmet and a copy of the game. The man handed the helmet and the game copy to the protagonist and ran off. Back at home, he puts on the helmet to try the game, but it makes him dizzy and a virus invades the virtual reality helmet, transporting him into the game inside a zombie's body. Back in the game, he decides to leave the warehouse to find some food. As he opened the door, a couple of zombies started coming in, having killed the three boys from before. Despite being of the same species, the zombies started approaching him. He needed to act fast since only a few zombies had entered and the door was still open. He quickly punches one of the zombies and manages to eliminate him. After this, the other zombies begin feeding on his body. Taking advantage of the situation, he leaves the warehouse and heads to a supermarket in search of food. According to the game settings, zombies usually attacked only humans, but once hunger takes over, they start attacking each other. To satisfy his hunger, he eats a couple of bags of chips and some sodas. He needed 10 experience points to evolve to the next level. New human players could share their information among them, but as a zombie, he must explore on his own and can't leave the game until he completes the mission. His belly starts growling as he was still hungry. The system warns him that his hunger rate was at 30%, and if it fell down to 25%, he would lose consciousness and finally he would come to death. To avoid this, he must eat as soon as possible. The effects of hunger started to appear, and he begins to lose control and starts seeing his fellow zombies as potential prey. But he cannot attack them, as fighting would attract the attention of other zombies. As he was losing control, he suddenly spots a lone zombie wandering in the supermarket. He quickly pounces on the zombie, and to satisfy his hunger he rips a chunk of flesh from his shoulder. In return, the zombie bites his arm, prompting him to hit the zombie's head to make him stop. However, he hurts himself since this zombie's body was tough. This zombie's strength was 15 points, while his agility was only 1 point, making him much stronger than the protagonist. Seeing that he stands no chance, he started running and realized that the zombie was very slow because he only had 1 agility point. He heads to the kitchen tool area and grabs a knife and throws it at the zombie's head and then starts throwing other tools at him. The angry zombie runs towards him, but Ling Yan has settled a trap. After approaching him, the zombie's legs are cutted by knives, and after he falls to the ground and gets stuck on nails, Ling Yan quickly approaches with an axe and finishes off the zombie by decapitating him. He takes a piece of the zombie's meat and eats it, thinking that this was just a game. By eating the meat, his hunger rate shoots up to 100%, but the meat attracts the attention of other zombies. He throws the zombie's body toward the zombie horde to avoid being attacked. Taking the chance, he decides to escape, and after a while, he reaches some restrooms and quickly closes the door. Eating one of his own kind, the system rewarded him with a new ability called Glutton, which allowed him to deal 10% more damage to other zombies. Now that he knew that he could level up by killing zombies of his kind, he just needed to use his brain and he could evolve rapidly. Suddenly, he started hearing the sound of players talking to each other. As he opened the door where the players were, he saw a soldier with a gun. The soldier ordered his comrades to gather resources quietly while he was going to stay at the door to cover them. While 2 girls were collecting food in a supermarket, the protagonist couldn't help but feel jealous knowing that they could eat food to recover while he could only eat smelly zombies. One of the girls noticed his presence and turned around, but the protagonist quickly started acting like an ordinary zombie. As he passed by the supermarket, he saw some players arguing about the man in the soldier's clothes. He was a player with a hidden mission and was wealthy because he had a gun. The players with weapons in the early period were very powerful, and for now, only 3 players had a gun. To maximize the opportunity to win, he had to avoid them at all costs to prevent a direct attack. Suddenly, some screams are heard. This scream were coming from the 2 girls who were being attacked by their own comrades. The man with the shirt hits them and wants to use them as bait since they attracted the zombies. Just as he was about to hit them again, the soldier appeared and stopped him, telling him that the outside was very dangerous. Now was not the time to attack each other. They couldn't wait much longer as they needed to make their way through. Only the soldier had weapons, but if the protagonist fought them all, he wouldn't stand a chance to win. Suddenly, the system charges him with protecting the 2 students while also having to kill those who threaten their safety. As a reward, he would receive 5 points along with additional rewards. The players were fighting against zombies, and he was a noob who needed to break the formation led by a soldier. He pushes one of the zombies towards the players to test their combat ability. The zombie is quickly cut down by one of the players. They were very capable players, and it was challenging for the protagonist to win against them with zombies with low intelligence. He had to work as a team. He could try to be the tank and avoid receiving critical damage. He starts advancing with the other zombies, and one of the players attacks the zombies by throwing a knife, but the protagonist stops it and then proceeds to block other objects thrown by the players. They realize that he is not a normal zombie as he is protecting the other zombies. They have to deal with him first as he is a zombie with intelligence. 2 of the players attack him while the other players throw stones at him. One of the players, seeing that they are not doing much damage, attempts a direct attack, and everything goes according to the protagonist's plan. He had managed to break their formation. He dodges the attack, and the player is caught by the zombies. By killing the player, he gains 2 experience points, and he only needs to kill 1 more to level up. Now that the zombies had tasted blood, their power was going to increase significantly and they start becoming more aggressive. The zombies start attacking the players, knocking their weapons down, but just as they are about to devour them, they are saved by the soldier, who uses his pistol to finish off the 2 zombies. Now he only has 1 bullet left in the magazine, and he uses the last bullet against the protagonist, but he dodges it at the last second. Now it's the zombies' chance to attack them, but the zombies are only focused on eating the injured zombies. The players are looking for an opportunity to counterattack, but luckily they are busy chasing him and disrupting their formation. Stealthily, he bites one of the unsuspecting players and gains a point of experience. He leaves the player cornered among the zombies and quickly takes advantage of their lowered guard, preparing to attack the soldier, but one of the players steps in, receiving the bite. Furiously, the protagonist pushes him towards the zombies. The player's plan was to save the soldier, as they could revive if one of the players remained alive and completed the mission. The protagonist prepares to attack the soldier again, but one of the players pushes another player towards him. He quickly eliminates him, gaining another point. Now he only has 10 health points left. If he dies now, he cannot revive, and he also can't leave. He takes advantage of the players arguing among themselves and tries to hide. But suddenly, the man with the shirt prepares to attack him to avenge his boss. Upon realizing that the attack was about to hit him, he couldn't help but think about his death. However, he mustered up the courage because he still needed to investigate the truth behind the virus outbreak and stop it. He also had to protect 2 female students and now could only think about surviving. Quickly, he grabs the man's weapon and cuts him in half, gaining an experience point. The system notifies him that he had fulfilled the condition to evolve and fully restore his life. Gradually, all his wounds start healing, and finally, he can evolve. He can choose to evolve as a reinforced zombie or become the commander of the zombies. However, if he evolves now, he will be unconscious for 10 minutes, so the system recommends finding a safe place to complete the evolution. Evolving in this place full of players would be suicide. With his remaining attribute points, he decides to increase his agility instead of strength since his current strength is already superior to that of normal players. He prepares to hunt, swiftly advancing among the zombies with incredible speed and quickly approaching the players, delivering a punch to one of them in the blink of an eye. The soldier realizes he is a mutant speed zombie and prepares to attack him. The protagonist blocks the attack, receiving a knife strike on his hand. Taking advantage of the soldier's inability to escape, he bites him, leaving him injured. He abandons the players, as they were now injured and there were too many zombies attacking them, and he heads toward the 2 students. He takes both of them and carries them away, leaving the other players behind, who were being devoured by zombies but still had the possibility of revival. Arriving at an abandoned room, he throws the students against the wall. If they stay in this room, he wouldn't have to protect them anymore since no one could attack them. Finally, he can evolve peacefully, but the rewards are of the lowest qualified race due to the developers only giving good rewards to normal players. He is furious, but the system warns him that his choice will affect his future evolution, and he doesn't know which one to choose since both are good advantages. Without hesitation, he decides to choose the evolution of the commander of the zombies and faints for the next 10 minutes. While he was unconscious, the 2 students planned a way to escape, thinking that they would be devoured by him when he woke up. While he was slowly waking up, the 2 students were silently trying to escape. Now that he had evolved, he could see the attributes of the NPCs, and all his attributes had increased, gaining 3 new abilities. The first one was the commander of the zombies, allowing him to command small groups of zombies. The second one was the strong virus, increasing his probability of infecting players when he bites them, and the third ability allowed him to analyze the statistics of all NPCs and players. He still had the additional reward from the system. He opens the chest and receives a military dagger. He decides to use the skill point to level up the commander of the zombies. With 1 point, he could control the zombies for 5 seconds. Seeing the frightened students, he calms them, saying that they were just a submission task assigned to him by the system. But what they really saw was his zombie face murmuring. He quickly leaves the room, and the students, upon realizing that he has left, they decide to escape as they see all the zombies have disappeared. The protagonist used his ability to direct all the zombies from the first floor to the second. Suddenly, he starts perceiving the aura of a much more powerful beast than himself. He was in the territory of another zombie lord, and the system warns him that if he doesn't leave, he will be attacked by the zombie. He decides to abandon the area since the zombie feels threatened by his evolution. The system informs him that he has activated a long-term mission and the objective is to eliminate the zombie lord. As a reward, he will receive objects and equipment from the zombie lord. Upon seeing the mission's rewards, he turns around and heads to the second floor. The zombie lord has a much higher level than him due to its powerful aura. He uses his ability as the commander of the zombies and starts controlling the zombies. He knows he can't fight the zombie lord alone and thinks of using the zombies as a human shield. The zombie lord is on the 3rd floor. After a while, he memorizes the layout of the 3rd floor and heads towards it. His body doesn't want to keep moving due to fear, but he decides to continue since the rewards are very good. As he climbs higher, he starts to smell a putrid odor, and in front of him stands an enormous zombie, a low-rank reinforced one. The zombie starts sensing his presence and turns around. The zombie discards the flesh he was consuming, as he has found another prey. The strength of this lifeless being was 30 points, while his agility was 5 points. The zombie approaches swiftly with the intention to attack. While the protagonist escapes from the zombie, he quickly clings to a side, avoiding being captured. The zombie collides with the wall, and seizing the opportunity, the protagonist quickly advances towards the zombie and attacks him from behind. However, his weapon fails to penetrate the thick skin of the zombie. The zombie counterattacks with a powerful blow that sends him flying through the air. The power disparity was too great to face it head-on, so the protagonist considers using his new ability as a commander of the zombies against him. He employs this ability and manages to immobilize the zombie, and delivers him a swift blow that causes damage to one of its legs before leaving the place. Upon reaching the second floor, where the normal zombies were, he uses his ability again to order the zombies to stop the zombie lord on the escalators. The zombie lord easily eliminates some of the zombies, but a greater number of zombies pounce on it. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist manages to land several blows, injuring it in various parts of its body. Due to the injuries, the zombie lord falls to the ground, and the other zombies begin to feed on him. The protagonist has leveled up, and now his intelligence is higher, although he still cannot understand the conversations among the zombies, who are murmuring among themselves. The system warns him that an event is approaching in the area where he is located, and in the next 48 hours, the city will be intervened by the military, who have been assigned to carry out a special mission. The intervention of this event will activate additional side missions, thus offering the possibility of finding clues for his main mission to stop the virus. He has activated a hidden mission related to the event, and his objective is to find the trapped doctor. As a reward, he will receive clues for his main mission. It is now 9 o'clock at night, and the zombies are more active at this time. Suddenly the zombie lord appears, advancing rapidly towards him. The protagonist manages to dodge his attack, but the zombie bites him and tears a chunk of flesh from his arm, leaving him in unbearable pain despite being a zombie that doesn't feel much pain. He uses his ability as a commander of the zombies and orders them to beat the zombie lord to death. He leaves the second floor and descends to the first. He goes to a medical store and finds some bandages and uses them to bandage his arm, as he no longer has the strength to use the ability again, and he knows he cannot defeat the zombie lord, who becomes much fiercer during the night. He prepares a cocktail, setting up an ambush for the zombie, as in this place, he cannot make use of his large size. The zombie lord approaches quickly. As soon as he gets closer, the protagonist throws the cocktail at his face, causing him to catch fire. Seizing the opportunity, he lunges at the zombie with his knife and manages to end his life. By defeating the zombie lord, the system rewards him with the control over the zombie lord territory. Furthermore, as all his wounds are healing, and the system has granted him 45 experience points. Suddenly, a formation of armed soldiers begins to enter the shopping mall, with orders to eliminate all the zombies in the area. He becomes angry, as now the enemies are in his territory. These soldiers not only came armed but also had special vehicles with high caliber weapons to fight against zombies. They were planning to establish a base in the mall after cleaning the area. It was already nighttime, and the soldiers had managed to eliminate all the zombies in the area and were preparing their equipment to turn the area into their base. The protagonist had bad luck, as he had just become the lord of the territory, and all his subordinates were already dead, and the soldiers were guarding the entrance. One of the soldiers informs his captain that this place was secure and difficult to invade. It was also close to the mission they were assigned. The army was planning to send soldiers to assess the situation in the city with the intention of taking the route that passed near the hospital. The protagonist's next mission was in the hospital, and the soldiers were ordered to recruit all the surviving citizens from the shopping mall. The system informs him that his body was decaying due to his injury, and if he continued in this place full of soldiers, he wouldn't have a chance to survive for much longer. So, he quickly thinks and uses his analysis ability to find a way to exit the shopping mall. By using the ability, he sees that among the soldiers, there was a rather strange soldier named Ian. This soldier was searching among the zombie corpses. The protagonist quickly concludes that he was a player, since only players stayed behind to loot the bodies after the battle. He decides to hide his zombie face by covering himself with clothes to conceal part of his body. Meanwhile, the player continued looting corpses. He manages to trap him with a surprise attack and quickly ties him up so he can't escape. Using his notebook, he manages to communicate with the player and convinces him to provide answers in exchange for sparing his life. Ian had randomly obtained the soldier profession when creating his character, and his current objective was to reach the hospital to receive his new mission. Suddenly, the system gives Ian a mission with two options. The first one is to kill the protagonist, and the second one is to join him. After thinking that he had no chance of winning against him, Ian decides to join him, and the protagonist's favorability increases by 1 point. He lets Ian know that his mission was also to go to the hospital, since they both had the same mission. He manages to convince Ian to work together, but he asks Ian to cover for him and prevent the army from knowing his true identity as a zombie. He trusts Ian and lets him go. Upon reaching the soldiers, Ian tells them that he made a great discovery on the second floor. Upon hearing this, all the soldiers start advancing towards the second floor. Surprisingly, Ian hadn't betrayed him. Taking advantage of the opportunity, he quickly leaves the shopping mall and heads towards the city. Now, all he needed to do was to kill a zombie to earn 5 experience points and level up. Unfortunately, all the zombies in the area had already been killed by the soldiers. Due to his injuries, his body was becoming more stiff. If he wanted to avoid having zombie stains, He needed to quickly find a zombie and finish it off to level up. Suddenly, he starts sensing the aura of an elite monster that hadn't been eliminated by the soldiers. This aura was coming from an abandoned building. As he approaches the building, he realizes that the aura belonged to the zombie lord of this area. In his current state, he couldn't risk fighting him. But with no more zombies in this area, he has no choice but to enter the building and confront the zombie lord. As he enters the building, he starts feeling the increasing pressure from the zombie that was hiding somewhere. The zombie, upon hearing the sound of footsteps, appears in a furious state. This zombie was a low-level mutant zombie with bone corrosion. The zombie swiftly advances to attack him, but he easily dodges and realizes that this zombie was slower than the zombie lord from the shopping mall. Taking advantage of his blind spot, he attacks him with his knife, but the knife gets destroyed upon impacting with his body. This zombie, compared to the previous lord, is much stronger due to his tough body. The zombie activates his ability called Iron Skin, and his whole body starts getting even harder, turning his current body into a weapon. He quickly starts attacking the protagonist and manages to land a few hits since he was in a dead end. Seizing the opportunity, knowing he couldn't escape, the zombie manages to impale one of his spikes into his body, leaving him with only 7 health points. Realizing he had no other option, he grabs the zombie and jumps off the building with him. While falling, the zombie starts digging its spikes into the protagonist's body. Despite being injured, he grabs the zombie by the head and turns him upside down to minimize the impact damage. After the fall, he had all his bones broken, and he felt so much pain that he could barely speak. With his last bit of strength, he manages to remove the spikes from the zombie. Seeing that the system hadn't notified him of anything, he thinks that the zombie was still alive. Just when he was about to lose hope, the system notifies him that he has leveled up and all his wounds start to heal. By defeating the zombie lord, his control over the territory expands, and he is rewarded with 5 attribute points and 1 skill point. The system gives him the choice between Plague Walker, which would allow him to enhance his commander ability and all attributes, or obtaining the Bone Corrosion skill from the zombie he just defeated. The Bone Corrosion skill was a good advantage as it allowed him to fight alone, but the improvement in body hardness remained limited. After thinking for a while, he chooses Plague Walker since he could use the commander abilities for a longer time. His evolution was going to begin in 10 minutes, so the system recommends him to find a safe place to complete the evolution. While searching the zombie's body, he manages to find a diary from the person who had turned into this zombie lord. Out of curiosity, he opens it and starts reading the diary. It tells the story of how some patients arrived at the hospital and infected him through a bite. By reading the diary, he advances 5% in his search for the virus outbreak. He leaves the place to complete his evolution. He had become the lord of the territory thanks to his escape, which meant there were still powerful zombies inside the hospital. He decides to use all his points to improve agility. The evolution takes place, and he starts feeling a strong pain in his heart. He feels like his body had been submerged in blood, and suddenly a human figure appears, trying to wake him up. The next day, he wakes up. This time, he didn't obtain any new abilities, but he gained a lot of attribute points. He had acquired a new predator instinct that had given him a change in mentality. He leaves the building and realizes it's 6 AM. The NPC soldiers were going to appear at this hour. The system warns him that his hunger rate was at 30%, so he goes to the body of the zombie lord and feeds on it. In a scene change, we see the soldiers arriving with Lai Yan. Lai Yan quickly finds the protagonist who was hiding behind a car. He was surprised that a normal player had managed to find him so quickly, even though he was concealing his aura. He follows the soldiers stealthily so that they eliminate the zombies while he saves his energy for another time. As they approach the hospital, he starts perceiving an evil aura. The system notifies both of them that they had entered a very dangerous area on the map and advises them to be careful. Seeing the message, Lai Yan looks worriedly at the protagonist, but he gestures for him to keep walking. He decides to take out his dagger to protect himself since if the system had notified him, it meant that there was a zombie of a much higher level than his. Suddenly, a zombie appears and advances toward the soldiers, but before it gets close, it is eliminated by one of the soldiers with a shot. Despite the system's warning about this area, only a common class zombie had appeared. Lai Yan uses his ability to detect the other hiding zombies. Just as he uses the ability, he starts perceiving a bunch of them. Entering into panic, he quickly advances toward the protagonist, and a horde of zombies starts attacking the soldiers. He had approached the protagonist hoping to avoid the zombies, but in this direction, there were even more zombies. They were surrounded by zombies. Seizing the opportunity, the protagonist quickly advances toward the hospital's back door and notifies everyone to enter the hospital. Slowly, everyone starts retreating toward the entrance and manages to enter the hospital. The protagonist recommends Lai Yan to stay in the hospital, and in case of extreme danger, he advises him to disconnect from the game to avoid dying. He alone leaves the entrance, leaving Lai Yan and the soldiers behind, hoping to save them as he needed them to complete the mission. He advances through the zombies, killing each one of them, with the intention that all the soldiers get into the hospital. When he saw that they had all entered, he decided to take off his mask and use the zombie commander's ability and ordered them to leave the place. While the zombies were leaving, there were still 2 soldiers who were hiding behind the garbage to avoid attracting the attention of the zombies. With the level up, his maximum vitality had risen to 30 points. With 30 points, he was now able to control about 800 zombies with a duration of 5 seconds. Now he had controlled about 1,000 zombies for 3 seconds. And because of this, he now only had 5 vitality points left. Taking advantage of this opportunity for peace, he set out to find a place to recover his vitality, but suddenly a low-level mutant zombie appeared. This zombie could not be controlled by his zombie commander ability because he had the same level as him. He decides to get out of its way since he still didn't have enough strength, but when he looks a little more closely, he manages to see that the zombie was carrying a hospital inspection report. It was his lucky day, so he quickly takes the report thanks to his agility. The zombie attacks him but fails to hit him thanks to the agility of the protagonist. While he was running away, the zombie decided to stare at him with an evil smile. Arriving at the alley where the 2 soldiers were, he opens the hospital report and manages to find out that the patient he was looking for was in the 3rd ward on the 5th floor. But suddenly he begins to feel a strong sensation in his stomach. This sensation was due to his hunger rate dropping significantly. His hunger rate continues to drop and he loses consciousness and slowly begins to approach the 2 soldiers. The 2 soldiers were relieved that someone had come to save them, but to their surprise, the one who had come to them was the protagonist who had lost control of his body. He pounces upon them and devours them both to satiate his great appetite. After regaining control, he regrets having fed on them, thinking that it was all the fault of the developers and the game's settings. After devouring them, he feels a sense of satisfaction. He decides to go on and not think so much about it as it was not going to change anything. The system rewards him with 10% more damage, and on top of that he could now copy the abilities of his devoured prey. But copying abilities consumed a lot of energy, so he angrily left the alley in search of the zombie that had made him eat the humans. He activates the bone skill and rushes towards the zombie. The zombie, knowing that he was going to be attacked, uses his ability and all the zombies in the area go into a state of hunger and begin to advance towards the protagonist. One of the zombies manages to bite him, but now that he had the Osea ability of the zombie lord, all those who tried to feed on him ended up dying on the spot. Furious, he advances towards the zombie. The zombie, seeing the attack, begins to cover his head to avoid the blow, but to his bad luck he fails to stop the blow thanks to the Osea ability and is killed by the protagonist. After finishing the zombie's life, he eats a piece of the zombie's flesh to get his skills. Lai Yan decides to open the door thinking that there are no more zombies, but at that moment the main character enters. The curious soldiers ask him what had happened outside. He tells them to ask Lai Yan as he knew all the answers. The soldiers approach Lai Yan looking for answers. The only thing he was thinking about was how realistic the NPCs in this game were.